welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something pretty extraordinary. We're digging into sources that detail what happens when, well, cutting-edge physics gets tangled up with some really determined engineering.
And the result isn't just, a paper or a patent. It's the complete collapse of everything familiar for the people involved.
Yeah, it's quite a story. We're focusing on this experiment, initially meant to explore the boundaries of human consciousness, but which ended up testing the boundaries of reality itself.
It's a really unique set of materials we've got, not just because of what happened, the sources are clear, it resulted in time displacement, but because they give us such a detailed picture of the two minds behind it all.
Okay, let's set this up. The core question here, based on these sources, is really,
Yeah.
what occurs when you take this highly theoretical idea that consciousness itself generates some kind of quantum field, and you actually build a machine to test it?
And the answer they found wasn't just, yes, it does. It was catastrophic for them personally. Their world dissolved.
Let's start with the who, the collaborators. First, there's Uwe, the physicist.
Right. The sources paint him as brilliant, definitely brilliant, but also chaotic. He's the source of these Kuhnen, fast, Ketzerischen Ideen, these bold, almost heretical concepts. He's the one pushing against the standard model of consciousness being purely biochemical.
The dreamer, the theorist.
Yeah.
And balancing him out, we have John, the engineer.
John's the anchor. Methodical, pragmatic, the sources call him the architect. He's the one who could actually take Uwe's, let's say, sprawling ideas and turn them into working hardware, humming machinery.
It's that classic combination, really, the visionary and the builder.
Exactly. And their lab,
Hmm.
it wasn't some university facility. It was a converted Berlin garage. This was back in 2025. Described almost like a shrine for quantum physics.
Filled with specialized gear, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. Cooled magnetometers, custom resonance chambers, the works, all focused on this one singular mission, testing the absolute limits of consciousness, proving it existed beyond just the brain's chemistry.
And the consequences, as you said, were completely unexpected.
Spectacularly unintended is probably the right phrase.
Okay, so that's the setup. Let's get into the theory itself. Uwe's idea about these consciousness fields,
Right.
what was the core concept beyond just measuring them?
So Uwe's hypothesis, these quantum physikalischen Bewusstseinsfeldern, or quantum physical consciousness fields,
Yeah.
it built on older ideas, people talking about quantum effects and brain microtubules. But Uwe went much further.
How so?
He argued that the sheer complexity and speed of thought didn't just use quantum mechanics, it actively generated a field, a coherent quantum field that actually extended beyond the physical brain.
So consciousness wasn't just happening in the brain, it was creating something external, a field capable of entanglement.
That was the radical part, yeah. A field that could, theoretically, interact with another such field. But, and this is key, it's incredibly weak, fragile.
Which is why they couldn't just, meditate their way into entanglement. Why build the machine?
Exactly, because of decoherence. The moment this faint field interacts with the normal, noisy, warm world, it collapses instantly. That's where John's engineering was crucial. The machine, der Noten, its job was to create a bubble of almost perfect isolation.
Ah, okay. So the knot didn't create the entanglement itself.
No, it created the conditions for it.
Right.
An incredibly quiet, cold, shielded space where the natural decoherence was suppressed. Then it introduced a specific resonance frequency to sort of nudge their two consciousness fields into connecting.
Like tuning two instruments to the same pitch so they resonate together.
A good analogy. It was basically forcing a temporary controlled connection, a telepathic handshake, as the sources put it, across subatomic space.
And the experience of this connection, the sources describe it as pretty intense sensorily.
Overwhelming, it sounds like. It started with sound, or rather vibration. This deep, resonant humming felt more in their bones and teeth than heard with their ears. And as the machine peaked, they both described the sensation of consciousness expanding. Not visually, but a feeling, like ink spreading in water. Their individual sense of self just dissolved into what they called an unbeschreiblichen Zustand der Einheit, an indescribable state of unity.
A merging of minds.
Completely.
And they held this state for a very specific length of time, didn't they?
For exactly 3.14 minutes. Pi.
Pi, why pi?
The notes explicitly say it was deliberate, a kind of symbolic gesture, a nod to the constant that defined the predictable physics of the world they knew, right at the moment they were tearing a hole in it. It's quite poetic, in a grim way.
And it worked. The transfer was perfect.
Flawless. John focused on something incredibly dense and specific, the full chemical formula for serotonin. We got it instantly, not as words, but as a complete concept.
An OE sent back.
Something completely different, abstract, sensory, a red spiral revolving around a singing Saturn. John received the image, the sound, everything all at once. They'd done it. Proven quantum telepathy.
So, success. They opened Pandora's box, saw what was inside, and thought they'd shut it tight. Where did it go wrong? Was it a hardware failure? A mistake by John?
It doesn't seem like it was the hardware. The sources suggest the problem was more fundamental, rooted in Uwe's theory. They underestimated the stickiness of consciousness fields.
Stickiness.
Yeah, their persistence. The decoupling sequence John designed was meant to flood the chamber with noise, forcing decoherence, breaking the link instantly. And the hardware did exactly what it was programmed to do.
But it wasn't enough to fully break the connection.
Apparently not. They thought it was severed. But the sources mention this unmeasurable depth to their bond. It seems consciousness, or this field aspect of it, is tougher, more resilient than they calculated. A tiny echo, a Winsage's subatomera's echo remained.
A thread.
A subatomic thread, yeah. Surviving the decoupling, silently linking them, just waiting.
Waiting for a trigger. Which brings us to the catastrophe. And it wasn't simultaneous, was it? Uwe went first.
Right. The transition for Uwe happened while he was asleep, but not peacefully. The sources describe it as a restless, feverish, nightmarish sleep.
What was he dreaming?
Dreams where logic failed, time wasn't linear, physics seemed arbitrary. His mind was already kind of fraying at the edges, even before the physical jump.
And then he woke up, not in his bed in Berlin.
No. Abruptly. Violently. The soft bedding gone, replaced by cold, damp earth. The air thick, smelling of wet soil, decay, unfamiliar plants. He physically felt wet, fan-like leaves, ferns brushing his skin.
He's instantly somewhere else.
Instantly somewhere else. Alone under this incredibly dense alien forest canopy, total disorientation.
And back in Berlin, John wakes up too, but to something different.
John woke to what the sources call an icy chill of panic. And it wasn't a noise, it was a feeling. A profound, overwhelming sense of absolute, irrevocable loss.
He felt Uwe disappear because of that lingering thread.
That seems to be the implication. He felt the connection snap, even though they thought it was already gone. He describes internally screaming Uwe's name, just this immediate, gut-wrenching certainty that his friend was gone.
And his first instinct is modern. Grab the phone.
Naturally. He dials Uwe's number, desperate, but the description is chilling. The phone just rang and rang and rang in an empty, distant world.
Technology failing to bridge the gap.
Worse, confirming the void. The panic, the failed call, the sheer emotional drain, it finally exhausted him. He fell asleep.
And that's when the echo, that quantum thread, caught up with him.
It seems so. He fell asleep in his armchair in the lab. He woke up and the armchair was gone, replaced by a rough, mossy tree stump.
Just like that.
Just like that. And the sound. The background hum of his refrigerator, that constant noise of the 21st century. Silence. Replaced by birdsong, but birds he'd never heard before. Completely unknown calls.
So they're separated, but in the same impossible situation. How did they even begin to process that? The realization must have been staggering.
That first realization, piecing it together, the sources suggest that was almost the hardest part. Taking stock of the alien surroundings, knowing what they'd just done with the nod. They understood, almost immediately, that the machine's echo hadn't just thrown them somewhere else.
But when else to?
Right. It had flung them both to the same impossible place at the same impossible time. Separated, yes, but trapped in the same shared disaster zone, a reality totally divorced from their own.
Let's look at how they reacted initially.
Oh.
He, the theorist. He tried to deny it first.
Yeah, his first reaction was textbook rationalization. It's a dream. Okay, not a dream, maybe kidnapping. Some weird prank with knockout drops. He ran through the standard explanations.
But the environment itself argued against that.
Exactly. He tried comparing it to forests he knew, like the Black Forest or something, but this was different. Too dense, too humid, the plants too strange. It felt Urwald, primeval, untouched. It just didn't fit any modern scenario. Reality felt too real.
But then pragmatism kicked in.
Thankfully, yes. He did a quick mental inventory, still had his clothes on, crucially, his sturdy hiking boots, robust Wanderstiefel. Survival mode engaged. First objective orientation. Find high ground.
Which led him to spot the river.
Right. Climbed a hill, saw this line of darker green in the distance. River. And rivers, historically, mean people. civilization. That became his immediate goal. Find the river.
Okay, so Uwe's driven by a hope, however slim, of finding something familiar. What about John, the engineer?
John skipped denial entirely, straight to analysis mode, like flipping a switch.
Typical engineer.
Completely. He listed the facts, cold and hard. 1, not Berlin. 2, deep forest. 3, weird plants and animals. 4, phone's dead weight. No signal. Useless block of glass and metal, as he put it.
And he dismissed explanations like kidnapping.
Immediately. Too complicated, too illogical given the totality of the change. Why fake everything? For John, it came down to variables. What was the one massive reality-altering variable they had introduced into their lives?
The experiment.
Yeah.
The knot.
Exactly. So the only hypothesis that fit all the data, however absurd, was that their experiment, specifically the incomplete decoupling, had caused this Ortsveränderung, a displacement. He had to accept that his own engineering, combined with Uwe's physics, had somehow done this.
So Uwe heads for the river, hoping for civilization. John heads for the river because logic dictates finding his partner, the only other piece of the equation.
2 men, miles apart, converging on the same point for totally different reasons, both hoping for some kind of answer at the river, neither prepared for the answer they actually found.
Which brings us to the reunion. Uwe gets there first.
Yes, after hours hacking through dense undergrowth, he reaches the bank. A wide river, clear water, looks cold.
And then he sees him.
Across maybe 200 meters of water, he spots another figure. Exhausted, bewildered, but instantly recognizable. The posture, the way he moved. It was John.
And the shout. You can almost hear it.
Yeah, the sources describe this raw, desperate cry breaking the silence. John! And then, across the water, the equally desperate reply. U-W-E.
Not a shout of joy, though.
No, more like a shriek of confirmation. Like, oh God, you're seeing this too, it's real. It meant this wasn't individual madness, it was shared, it was objective in a worst possible way.
John, being John, immediately starts analyzing the far bank, right? Looking for signs of life.
His engineer brain kicks back in, scanning for roads, power lines, jetties, anything. And there's nothing, just wilderness right down to the water. The implication hits him instantly. No civilization nearby, maybe no civilization at all.
And he realizes Uwe is his only link.
His only anchor, the source says, in this crazy, disjointed world. If they were going to figure this out or even just survive, they had to be together.
So he decides to swim. But first, this very 21st century ritual.
Right. He takes off his shirt, carefully saves his boots and socks practical, but then he wraps his smartphone, this useless brick, tightly inside the shirt.
Even though he knows it's useless.
The instinct is just too strong. Protect the device. Protect the connection to the world he knew, even if that connection was severed. It's a really poignant detail.
And the swim itself must have been brutal.
A tough crossing, strong current, cold water, all his focus just on getting to Uwe on the other side.
The embrace when he finally makes it, not relief, but something else.
Sheer despair and a deep existential fear is how the sources describe it. They cling to each other, and John immediately voices the conclusion. It was the decoupling. It didn't work properly.
And Uwe drops the denial.
Completely admits every explanation for this is completely insane. They're together now, staring out at this vast, untamed wilderness.
And the awful realization dawns. It's not just where are we?
It's when are we? The pristine nature, the lack of any modern sign, it points to a huge gap in time.
They need data. Hard data. Ooh, the scientist takes charge again.
He forces his scientific brain online. Observations needed. Facts. John, being the practical one, spots the tallest thing around a huge, ancient-looking pine tree and starts climbing. Get a vantage point.
What does he see from the top?
Miles and miles of green. An endless green sea of forest, he reports. Maybe 10 kilometers in every direction. And crucially, his engineer eyes confirm. No straight lines. No roads, no buildings, no smoke, no power lines. Nothing man-made.
The absence of evidence is the evidence here.
Absolutely. But then comes the positive evidence. The biological data.
The animals.
He sees movement below. 2 herds of, well, they look like elephants. One herd seems familiar, just massive. But the other herd, they're different. Smaller, stockier, and hairy. Zottelig is the word John uses. Shaggy.
And that one word shaggy is the key for...
It clicks instantly. He knows exactly what John is describing. He says it with this, like, dreadful certainty. Das waren mammoths, wohl mammoths, woolly mammoths.
Mammoths, okay. That places them squarely in the Ice Age.
John makes the connection, too, dredging up old-school knowledge. Mammoths mean the Pleistocene, the last great cold period.
And Uwe provides the time frame.
The peak of the last glaciation, he says, was about 20,000 years ago. 20,000 years. The number just hangs there. You can imagine how that landed, like a physical blow.
20,000 years. But Uwe spots a problem, right? A paradox.
Yeah, the physicist's brain kicks in again. Ice age means cold. Glaciers across Europe, North America. But they're sweating. It's warm, humid where they are, drenched from the river crossing, but comfortable.
So if it's 20,000 years ago and it's warm, where could they possibly be?
This is where John's memory banks deliver again, some obscure research he'd read. The Sundaland hypothesis.
Sundaland.
During the Ice Age, so much water was locked up in glaciers that sea levels were way lower, over 100 meters lower. This exposed huge land bridges connecting Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Borneo, Sumatra, Java into one giant landmass.
A single continent.
A single, warmer continent called Sundaland, a refuge. It fit everything. The warmth, the jungle-like forest, the presence of megafauna like mammoths that could survive cold periods but were found here too.
It all snaps into place. They're in Sundaland 20,000 years ago.
The intellectual certainty is there, and it's horrifying, just utterly crushing.
And this is where John finally breaks, isn't it? Uwe tries to cope with dark humor.
Yeah, Uwe mutters something about it being a nice tourist destination, just missing the all-inclusive bungalow. Trying to deflect, maybe?
Bad timing.
Terrible timing. John just explodes. All the fear and stress that he'd been channeling into analysis and action, it erupts as rage, screams at Uwe, "Bleib bit ernst! Please, stay serious. It wasn't just about the joke. It was about facing the sheer terrifying reality of their situation together."
He needed his partner grounded.
Exactly. And Uwe gets it. Instantly, the sarcasm vanishes. The sources quote him, "Okay, John, you have the right. Serious." Acknowledging the gravity. No more jokes. Just the two of them against prehistory.
Okay, so the horrifying truth is established. Location, Sundaland. Time, 20,000 BC. Next step, survival basics. Inventory. What do they actually have?
It's a depressingly short list. His phone, almost fully charged at 98%, the clothes he stood up in, and bizarrely, a pocket full of Wickblau eucalyptus cough drops.
Cough drops? Seriously?
Yeah, an absurd little comfort item from another universe, basically.
And John, slightly better prepared?
Marginally. His phone, battery at 70%, his clothes, and then the crucial items. A mechanical wristwatch. Analog, immune to the digital apocalypse.
Ah, good thinking.
2 tiny packets of sugar and salt apparently nicked from a service station. And his car key. But the key has this interesting detail, a little coil of copper wire attached.
Copper wire on a car key. Why?
It wasn't for the car. It shows John's mindset. It was a tiny, improvised emergency antenna booster he'd rigged up ages ago. For boosting a radio signal, maybe? A just-in-case preparedness thing. Totally useless now, probably, but he saved it instinctively.
Always thinking about communication, even now. But his immediate priority is power conservation.
Right. Turn the phones off, now. Preserve every drop of battery. They have no idea if or when they might need that power for anything. Maybe just as a light source eventually.
But before they switch off, Uwe needs one last piece of data. One final confirmation.
He needs to prove the negative, basically. Eliminate any lingering, insane possibility that they're somehow still in their own time, just wildly off-grid. He wants to substantiate the probability moving towards 100%.
How?
He fires up his phone's GNSS tool, Global Navigation Satellite System. Not just GPS, everything. GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, Beidou, the entire global network.
And the absence of any signal from those networks, that means something profound.
It means the 21st century is gone from the sky above them. Those systems, American, Russian, European, Chinese, represent a massive, coordinated, global technological infrastructure. Billions of dollars, constant monitoring, satellites whizzing overhead 20,000 kilometers up.
Thistles aren't there.
It's not just that you can't get directions. It means the entire geopolitical and technological framework of their world has vanished. It's the ultimate proof of temporal displacement.
They watch the screen, searching.
Searching, desperately scanning the frequencies. But the lists stay empty. No satellites found. Not a single one from any constellation. Just nothing.
For John the engineer, this must have been the final nail in the coffin.
Absolutely. The mammoths are strong evidence, sure, but the silent GNSS screen, that's irrefutable engineering proof. Who even starts to say it? Trailing off. The probability goes against 100% that he doesn't need to finish.
The sources call it the digital heart attack.
A perfect description. The pulse of their modern world flatlined right there on the screen.
And so they do it. They power down.
Together, they hold down the power buttons on their respective phones. The screens flare one last time, a final goodbye from the 21st century, then go black.
The sound of those clicks.
Like two doors closing forever. They've just manually severed their last symbolic link to home.
So there they are. Stranded, 2 dead phones, a watch, some salt, sugar, cough drops, and this terrifying knowledge.
Yeah.
We've traced the whole arc. The quantum telepathy experiment succeeding.
The decoupling failing, leaving that quantum thread.
The jump across 20,000 years.
Pinpointing their location to prehistoric Sundaland.
And finally, cutting the last digital cord.
They know exactly where and when they are, which is, ironically, almost useless knowledge for staying alive day to day right now. Their only truly functional modern tools are analog. The watch, the sugar, the salt. Everything else is just a memory or a dead weight.
But here's the thing. Their experiment, the one based on Uwe's theories of quantum consciousness, it did something impossible. It achieved physical time travel. They proved their entanglement, that thread, survived.
That fragile connection, generated by their own minds, was strong enough, persistent enough, to drag their physical bodies across millennia. That's the only known mechanism at play here.
Which leads us to the final thought, something for you to consider. If their minds, entangled via the knot, could unintentionally cause this massive displacement forward in their perception, but backward in time, could that mechanism be understood? Could it be controlled?
They answered the question of when they are, but the real challenge, beyond just surviving woolly mammoths in prehistoric jungles, is the how.
Could the physics of the knot, the very thing that stranded them in Sundaland 20,000 years ago, hold the key? Could they somehow recreate or reactivate that conscious entanglement, this time intentionally, to find a pathway back? That's the question they're left with.